No, Ray, come here. This is my recap of Project Runway Under the Gun. It's an unconventional beach party. Season 1, Episode 8. I don't really think there's going to be a Season 2, but for now I'll just keep seeing Season 1. All 4 dogs have joined me on the bed, so I'm sorry if they're a distraction, but they're definitely going to help me out here. So we are finally at our true unconventional challenge. So they're taken to a beach and there's all this stuff. There's this raffia. I don't know if it's like fencing or beach mat and fans and umbrellas and beach balls and all this stuff out on the beach. And they're given a certain period of time to go ahead and collect them, and that's going to be their materials. One of the things that I felt was kind of odd about the judging was that they gave them all these materials, but then when they got to the judging panel, they were sort of like, haha, certain materials we wanted you to use and certain ones we didn't. And it seemed kind of like unfairly applied. At least in my mind, it seemed weird that they didn't like when the beach ball was used, but they did think that the raffia was amazing. And you know, if you did a dress and you put fans on it, it was phenomenal. If you did a dress and you put plastic on top of it, it was cheating. So I just felt like it was really inconsistent. And so that's just my thoughts. So one of the things I wanted to comment on is the mentors, is that the designers are having a hard time trusting their mentor or knowing if they should trust their mentor. We've had Tim with us for so many years that we just take it for granted that the designers trust him. But I've seen other countries that do this show, and they don't always trust their mentor. For instance, in the UK, when they did Project Catwalk, he was actually he caused trouble. He would say, do this, and then the judges would hate it. Tim's proven that he can give them advice and that his advice should be heeded. For every 99 times he gives advice, it works. There's maybe one time it doesn't. But that hasn't always been the case. Originally they hadn't written in the role of a mentor. He was going to be more of a technical advisor, and his role got bigger and bigger as they saw how great he was at the job. But even if you go back to Season 1, Episode 1, and you watch it, you'll see that some of the designers kind of shoo him away. Daniel, who went at that very first challenge, Tim comes to talk to him, and Daniel's like, thanks for your input, Tim, but I really need to get to work, so excuse me. And he kind of like shoos Tim away. So my point is that Tim hasn't even always been Tim. There was a time when he was just this guy. And the designers are going through this process where they've been assigned these mentors and they don't really know if they should trust them. I've been really impressed with, especially Anya, how well she does as a mentor. Tim's there to kind of tell us that yes, she is doing a good job and she's having the right thought process and she's course correcting all the way through. But the designers don't really know. There's no proof of concept. They don't know if she's giving them good advice or bad advice, or what's really going on. Even when Tim gives good advice, it's not guaranteed that the people are going to stay in. So someone's always got to go home. So that's my comment on the mentors. I am going to go through each look just real quick. So Natalia, she had that kind of blue dress with the raffia sort of knitted around it. It was not well done. It wasn't a great look, but it was the most innovative when it came to the use of the materials, in the terms that she broke it down and recreated something new. So I figured there's no way she's going home because it's the best use of unconventional materials. And I was right. She was in the bottom, but they didn't even get close to sending her home. Then we had Oscar. He had, I wasn't a fan of the shoulder. He had all those fans that were applied. And it wasn't just they were applied in such a way to visually make the proportion, real hourglassy. They created almost their own pattern. But essentially what he did was he created a dress and then he applied these around it. So they kind of like really, really loved it when he did that, and then really slammed people later on for doing it with a different material. But what they said is they didn't feel it was a good enough use. So I don't know how I feel about I felt like it was some inconsistencies. But phenomenal look. Now, Stephanie, she had, kind of a plastic top, and it just wasn't a whole lot of anything. It had these kind of petals and stuff. And she does end up in the bottom. We had Shannon and Blake, who are both end up being safe. They're just sort of basic looks. They just sort of took a material and they just kind of made a look. So there you go. Not really that surprising. Sam's have this midriff, and what is with the midriff? Is that like a thing? Am I gonna have to like deal with just completely excluding a trend because midriff is in? Maybe because of my age, I remember when midriff was cool the last time, and so to me, midriff just seems so dated and like tacky girl that wants to look sexy, and so I'm really struggling with this particular trend. And then we get to Ahsha. I love the dress. I was not a fan of the bottom trim. I don't remember quite what it was, but she had it's like a faux fur trim at the bottom, equivalent. I mean, it wasn't faux fur, obviously, but I wasn't a fan of that. I would have preferred it without that, but that's just how I would roll. And then Michelle had a look. It seemed more like a club look than a California, beach party kind of look. I didn't think it was that bad though. But, we're at that point in the competition where we're not sending home bad looks. We're starting to send home the least good looks. So that's kind of how I feel about that. One of the things I didn't like was that they announced Sam's win for this fun and flirty. I don't know why. I really resented that they announced that before doing the judging. I think it's because we assume that part of the... I'm sorry, my dog's making a weird noise. If you hear that, that's my dog. It's the way of saying she wants attention. So the purpose of the judging, where they talk to everyone, they've told the viewers this is about learning more about the look and their judging process. Well, if they can go ahead and just pick who's the fun and flirtiest without talking to anyone, then why do they need to talk to them at all? They can get the top look, they can get the bottom look. Oh, it's just all for show. Oh! So for some reason it really offended me that they did it without talking to them first. I think they should have had the top and the bottom, and then they should have announced the fun and flirty winner, and then they should have announced the winner. That's just my opinion. I don't know why it bothers me so much. It shouldn't. And then we get down to the bottom. Stephanie, I'm sorry. You seem like a great person. I wish I could have seen more of your work. I don't really remember your work, but I don't remember a lot of anyone's work, but I think that she made it pretty far in the competition, at least, all the way to episode 8. And then they get, Mondo gets to pick the winner between Sam and Ahsha. And I really felt like this was a pity win. Like, he didn't think it was the best look, but Sam's been complaining. He made a big deal about how he's been working so hard. And I appreciate that he's been working really hard, but that's not the same thing as having really good looks. Saying you've been working really hard isn't the same as saying that you've been producing looks that deserve to win. So that's just how I feel. But I've got to go jet last episode of Real Housewives, and I have just enough time to go catch it. So I will see you soon.